Hey guys, what is going on? It is Ando. We've got another GAC recap, and really the reason why I want to play this one is because it's the first 5v5 that we've had with these sets. Some really interesting counters can be had, and so we'll kind of go through that. But before we go into it, if you guys can hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video so that way it helps it get out there. That, like I said, some pretty cool insights in this one. And some pretty cool counters. So we're 36-51 after the squish, and I think we went 2-1 last season to end the season. I think I ended up being like 5-4 or something like that last season, so barely above the win. I'm 540th. The only reason why I'm checking this right now is just because we know that Kyber 1 is shrinking, so just kind of interesting always to kind of figure out. I think I'm basically 2 losses away from going in there. Our opponent is Darth Scandalous from HA, I forget what it is, Mandalore. There we go. 1.1 million legacy banners. Someone pointed that out during the stream. And this was taken during my stream. So it's going to be, I think it's sped up by like 1.5 speed. So it'll go a little bit quicker. 10.9 million GP is very, very similar to mine. I think I just crossed 11 million. He went pretty heavy with the Datacrons on level 9s with set 8, but then he kind of seemed like he cooled off and went more in depth, which is something that we're seeing more often, and actually something that I would suggest. I know that you get a lot of cool stats up in the level 8s and stuff, but at the end of the day, you just need that level 3 the most. So got a Ray-Ben, Jabba, Lord Vader, and then I forget what I think that's a Sana Holdo team. And then we've got Cere with no Omicron. We've got Dash with an Omicron. We've got JMK, which is interesting because I feel like he's not really seen on defense too much anymore. And then we've got, I think that's the Darth Malgus team underneath that. My stupid face. Okay, so like I said, this set is crazy because the counters and the off meta that's able to be done. So actually this is a pretty cool stream, or was a pretty cool stream because we were going to do so many off meta stuff. And so the first one is going to be, the typical, I guess, it's a little bit harder with Xeris in there. People say that it's a lot harder. I don't know if it's a lot harder. Honestly, you just add shock and it just kind of shuts down Xeris. So there you go. Shock is on her. There you go. Like I said, like she's kind of there now, and she's not going to really do much as long as she has shocked on her. And that's the big key. Want to dispel that that crit hit immunity, so that way you're not boosting up any sort of damage that Rey could have. And then yeah, you just kind of focus down on Rey, get her in a damage immunity if at all possible, and kind of go from there. So yeah, we won't talk too much about this. I'm gonna kind of be, I'll make some interjections in between, but honestly, I want to talk just in general, kind of like the approach of this season. The season, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that got buffed really, really hard due to the that was a pretty cool hit. Due to basically the Datacrons that are out right now. The off meta scene right now is actually pretty strong. GLs obviously are very strong. I think though, when we first saw this set, we thought, oh my gosh, like the GLs are just gonna be crazy. Like that's it. Like it's just gonna be timeout. We're gonna die. It's gonna be horrible. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen. It's just way less than I guess I thought it was going to happen. I was, I think along with a lot of people were actually kind of wrong about that. So yeah, now that she's in yellow, we can kill, Swolo, except for he comes back every 10 seconds. So I just decide, get Rey a little bit weaker, bring down the ship, see if we can kill Rey. Now we'll still have to kill Swolo a few times, but it won't be as bad. And okay, so like I said, as long as Shocked is on Xeris, I mean, you guys be the judge, right? Was she that impactful in this fight? I would argue probably not. I think most people would probably agree. I hope. But yeah. Anyways, like I was saying, yeah, we're gonna see some pretty cool off meta stuff. I have some cautionary tales of like where we should and shouldn't use certain datacrons on GLs, and you guys will see that today. And I just had a match with Rambam actually, and yeah, it's another one. So this is it. So credit to Calvin for this exact idea. But when this set first came out, my head was immediately in the 501st space. 501st is my favorite team. So I was like, okay, what GLs can Lord Vader, or not Lord Vader, Gas beat? So Lord Vader, when he has the DoT Cron, basically, you know, there's a clause, and most people forget about it. It's a very small clause inside of Gas 501st where there's tons of clauses. But basically, anytime that an enemy gains a buff, the 501st gains 2% stacking offense. Again, for most fights and for most things that you counter, you're not truly worried about how many buffs you kind of get, because the fight's usually over, and 2%, you know, is 2%. It's nothing crazy. Like there's not too many teams that get that many buffs that you can start to be like, wow, like we just boosted them up by 30% offense or something like that. But this one is, I mean, every single time that Lord Vader goes, you guys are seeing, he's got 30 dots or 30 heals over time, right? Or sorry, protection up. All these other buffs, right? Like he's got 60 now. That is 120% offense that he's giving my 501st team right now. And it just keeps going up and up and up. So yeah, this is one where, I think people are placing this because they think that it makes their Lord Vader harder to kill, especially with the bounty hunter variant, which I would say is kind of false hope at this point. There is ways to get around this, right? Embo, Boba, there is ways to get around it. It's probably a little bit more annoying, and maybe the rate is not as good. But for those that are like pretty skilled players, like it's easier than what I think people lead it on to be. Some people just say, well, that's it. Like you just can't bounty hunter that. And yeah, so here's the thing, guys. Do you want your Lord Vader to be killed by Gas 501st? That's the question. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, yes, maybe, it's a good thing because I think this is a 100% counter, by the way. I mean, maybe like if your gas is like relic 5 or something like that, like it's not going to work out in your favor. But I'd say most part, this is going to be a thing. So I think that people will change. I think after people see this video, after they see some of the stats and stuff, I think people are going to change. They're going to put the bolt cron. I've always been a fan of the bolt cron on Lord Vader just because it makes Maul. If you have an R8 or R9 Maul, it's like you basically get like an R10 or R11 Maul. Like he hits so hard with that cron. And this is just me on the stream probably just saying like, hey, might not be the best idea to do that. I don't think that's a trade-off that you want to make, right? I'd rather put the thick cron on, and I'm really curious to see what the percentage for Fennec versus Lord Vader is this season, because I don't think it's great. I don't think it's going to be as good. I think it's going to be a little bit more up in the air because, like I said, that extra damage is going to throw things off a little bit. Okay, let's go into this fight really quick. So over the offseason during the Gambit roundtable, I was like thinking about, okay, so what is my answer to Jabba going to be? And normally I was just like, well, maybe it's SLKR, right? But it just felt so cookie cutter that it's just like, man, I don't like that. If there's any way that I could even kill the sides and then just we can solve Jabba later, that's what I want. Now, Fatal kind of led me onto this. So I added the Omicron on Marin and the Omicron on Asajj. Honestly, I think you can probably just get away with the Marin one. If your goal is to just kill the sides. Now, this is my first time playing it. I had seen some stuff. The big thing that I learned from this, and the big thing that I have learned since kind of doing this counter, is zombie in this one is not the most ideal partner, right? I think ideally we would have some weird relic Night Sister, so that way I can get full use of my Datacron, which I have. These are my 5 relic ones. And then it's just a Talzin, and that random Night Sister ally is just dead. And yeah, so right here, this is what we don't want. We want Asajj to come back, right? Like we want Asajj to be here to ramp up the damage. It's just not gonna work with the zombie, I don't think. I mean, not with my mods, not with my setup. Like I said, if you're Fatal, I know he was talking about how he was running it, and yeah, there's some interesting like angles that he's taking, and this is where I deviate from the plan. I should have just kept going with basics, but anyways, I was like, I need to bring back Asajj, like, because her ramping damage was what I really wanted. But yeah. So anyways, long story short, we'll end up timing out on this, which again, I was fine with. Going into this season, I was like, hey, I really want to set a different GL on defense, because right now there are some really fun things that you can get done on defense if you bait out the right counters. And right now, like I said, this is just such an interesting time, because we are sitting in a spot where GLs that weren't necessarily great on defense for the past few seasons, which is like, okay, Jabba, Lord Vader, Rey have been staples on defense for at least 3 seasons now. I mean, probably even longer. I'm just trying to remember back, like how far back like I can kind of remember, at least somewhat accurately. And I can't think of a time where Jabba, Rey, and Lord Vader haven't been sort of the defense meta. Look at where Zombie ended up. So I really like this season, because there is some teams that you can come play with, like SLKR. He's very, very valuable, but on defense, he can do some pretty crazy stuff if you've got the Cron. Like, you're not going to JKL him. You might even struggle against doing like SLKR or JML versus SLKR. I think you could still do it. It's just it takes a little bit more effort to play it. C is another one, right? These are guys that really realistically in the last few months we haven't had to see on defense, and typically when we do that, we kind of cause people some, it will cause good players to just think a little bit longer. Will cause other players to get uncomfortable with their game plan and maybe throw them off. Okay, anyways, let's go into this fight. So I really wanted to see what Jedi Knight Cal Kestis can do. All right, so but basically all the big relics. Doesn't really matter about Malgus anymore as far as his relics go. Obviously you want him at 9, but like he's gonna die due to Jedi Knight Cal Kestis. I guess yes, you could have a thicker Bastila. But I think this is the best lineup to try and time people out, to be fair. Okay, so we got lucky there. Opened up doubt on Mace. Okay, so Mace is looking pretty rough. And this is a timeout risk, right? So just be aware. So we're throwing the sun up just because we're trying to reduce their max health and protection, right? So that's the whole reason why Mace is here. It's the whole reason why we're going to end up kind of going into why we chose Mace. So yeah, and it was best for my Jedi splits, so that's also good. So yeah, so want to kill Basilishan first. They're receiving some extra health from her, so we get her out pretty quick actually. And now this is kind of a numbers thing, right? We know we're gonna nuke Malgus, right? So, but Shatterpoint is, like I said, it's a real thing. That's the reason why we brought Mace here. And so we want to kind of play that to our advantage. And how we would play that to our advantage is getting the most amount of people out of here. So that way we can, continue to let Shatterpoint, if there's only 2 targets on the field, you got a 50-50 chance of it hitting someone that you actually want it to hit, instead of, maybe it going to Malgus right now, where he's not going to matter, in a few seconds, in a few swap stances. Yeah, we just keep swapping stances. And the reason why, guys, JKL lead over Jedi Knight Revan is because you moved all their speed down. So there's Savior right there. Okay. I should have probably hit Malik there, just because he did have a Shatterpoint on him. But yes, I should also be playing with it collapse. Okay, so there's the instant kill. Boom, Malgus is done, right? So now again, we wanna hit, if we can, we wanna hit, those Shatterpoints. Those are big deals. Get this passed around, give ourselves a little extra defense or whatnot. And there's that beautiful fear and leading to a turn of damage immunity. And so, yeah, this is why Marauder, I think, is actually the best. Again, not leaning too much into my fight with Ram, but it'll be the next video or the next GAC that I do. We just did it last night, and he had a different lineup, and I don't think it worked as well. It wasn't as close of a timeout risk, but this is obviously pretty close. We got, a minute, some odd change, and we've still got 3 guys left. Again, the stun's gonna heal, but it's also gonna reduce the max health and protection, which is important. One thing that I could say that I need to do better here is figure out who's got the actual Shatterpoint. I also think it would be interesting to potentially pass turns after the initial 30 and you've killed Malgus. I think it would be interesting at least to pass turns to Mace, just so he does get Shatterpoint. And so yeah, anyways, overall you can see, like I said, he's just really tanky. We got 25 seconds left. I'm starting to get a little panicked, but again, trust in the Shatterpoint, guys. I've actually kind of remodded my Mace this time too, so hopefully. So 64 there. That's huge, guys. That's huge. Again, that before that was sort of like either a gas or a GL scenario, and now we're able to do it. So I did a mirror match, right? I was faster than his cat, so I just did this short thing. I just decided to show you guys the tail end of that. This is a non Omicron Cere. I think it's like a 30-second fight when it's like this. Pretty cool, if I don't say so myself. So yeah, open up with the stuns, obviously get the defense up from Wrecker, and then pass the turn over to our guy Echo, and then double select or double tap, I should say, with Hunter. And then again, just because he's got defense up and that person has debuffs, he will attack twice. So not a bad call. Always to get the true damage AoE. Okay, I guess it was longer than 30 seconds, but thought it was pretty easy. I don't think they ever actually take a move to hit me. I think pretty much they just get out of stun and then they're like, oh, what happened to all my teammates? So yeah, pretty easy fight, especially without the Omicron. That'll change, especially once Terran comes. Yeah, that'll be interesting. So these thick Cron ones, yeah, I just decided I was going to run my own thick Cron. That's a dark side one that I selected. I thought about maybe bringing it for light side just because Um, because Mando and Grief are kind of the ones that I don't want dying. But I gave him just defense. There's a defense on there. So the reason why I'm not targeting Queel right now is I can't crit with Queel. And so I basically lose out on turn meter. So I thought to myself, well, maybe what I'll do is I'll just try and weaken down someone else, right? So that way they're the weakest person and I don't have to worry about, you know, trying to sit there and waste time on Queel because he's not gonna turn meter train me, I guess, in a certain. Not that there's really a turn meter train, but like it was just a thought, and then I said, you know what, this isn't working. So we switched it up. And then what's interesting is later on in this fight, you will see we actually kill IG-11 once. IG-11 then, you know, he because of Queel, right, who's able to kind of just bring him back. He's got basically like 2 lives because of Queel. He in his kit, it basically says that as long as IG-11 is present, you can't crit Queel. Well, I guess that's only the first time. I think it's a mistake. Like, I think it's a bug. But I guess that's only the first time. Because when we kill him, after that, we can crit him. It's quite interesting. But we'll get to that later. So, yeah, it took us a little bit longer on contract to kind of get that done, but at the, you know, see, like, there are no crits because again Queel or IG-11 is there, but he's the weakest, so I just kind of want to keep hitting him. And eventually I think we will just, I can't remember how this plays out, honestly. I think I just get tired of hitting Queel. Oh yeah, oh that's what it is, he comes back, maybe that's what it is. Yeah, I forgot. I had a brain fart moment where we need to kill Vader first. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe I don't know. It's so weird. I don't know. Maybe let's see if we crit here on this. No, we didn't crit there. Yeah, I was going through this with the stream. I was like, man, I don't know what happened here. I think we end up killing IG. Okay, so we kill Vader right there. Then we'll kill IG right here or close to here. And there it is. Okay, so there we go. Right now we're critting Queel, right? I don't know. That's weird. I think it has probably something to do with, I mean, not that it's like a huge deal. It's not like this is a meta breaking squad that like all of a sudden now we have access to. But it's interesting. I think it's some sort of bug, if I had to guess at least. And so, yeah, I don't know. Just checking the health and protection before I do the last shot. And there it is. So that's a 4-minute battle. Probably would have been a little bit less had I actually played it right. Or played it accurately, I guess. So this is going back to the Jabba that we used our Night Sisters on. Yeah, so basically I sub in Cere. Cere doesn't do anything for the squad. She doesn't hit that hard. Yeah, she adds a little bit of durability, but I mean, you're not going to die to a solo Jabba due to his damage output at least. And really what we're trying to bring Wedge in here for is that defense down, right? I forgot what the Cron had on it, but it was definitely a solid amount of defense percentage. So yeah, bring in, you know, I've seen also Saw Gerrera as well. Yeah, a lot of different guys. I think Kyle, Pao, and the Hoth Rebel Scout are kind of non-negotiables. They probably are. You could probably do it with other people, but they're those 2 guys in the back right now. Those guys are the turn meter train. And Kyle really is the guy that kind of gets it going, I guess. And he does actually a pretty solid amount of damage. I just go for the basic here for the couple additional hits, as well as potentially landing a ability block, but we didn't get it. So yeah, so that's in essence how I ended up kind of coming up to a way where I can not place a certain GL on the line, right? I can place an additional GL on my defenses because a few different things. Gas being sort of a GL killer, Star Killer still doing Star Killer things. We have Jedi Knight Cal now who can take out, the Malgus squads, or at least, I mean, get close to. It's a close timeout situation. So yeah, all those things kind of lead me to. I think I was starting to use. You don't see a ton of the fights because I was starting to use like GLs against like Zori and stuff like that. So definitely one of those things where I could even go heavier potentially, but I would run the risk of eventually someone kind of calling my bluff and being like, okay, man, you want to place, 5 or 6 GLs on defense. Like, I'm going to call you out on it. And then I might not have a plan for that. So, with me streaming and stuff like that, I obviously want to make it pretty entertaining. Part of being entertaining is not just being like, well, I can't full clear, guys. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know how I can get to the back zone, kind of thing. So, so that's kind of the story of the ground game, guys. Like it's going to happen. And like I said, tomorrow's video or whenever I can get to the GAC recap of mine and Rams fight it's pretty similar too. I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff. And I think even when people learn, about the Lord Vader stuff, there's still stuff that Gas can do. And I'm hoping that maybe I can showcase that, next week or something like that. But yeah, this is ships battles, guys. The ships meta is currently really boring. And honestly, I know Leviathan has some bugs with it right now, but honestly, right now, I don't even know if like it's really gonna change it up that much. Like I'm currently not seeing. I think Leviathan is a good ship, and I want to be clear about that because I think maybe some people will think like, oh yeah, Ando says it's trash. No, I'm not saying that at all. I just don't know how it's going to change up the meta right now, as it stands. Like I said, I know there's some bugs going on with it, so maybe once they fix it or whenever, if they decide that a buff is needed, in order to kind of stop some of the things that they don't intend on happening right now, maybe then I will, I'll see something else that I didn't see before. But right now, it just feels like, okay, like that's interesting. It's another fleet, and its best use seems to be on offense right now. Like, so it's not going to change up the meta, so to speak. Yeah, but we're running just the typical ships counters right now. And like I said, I don't know, maybe we'll see something change. Maybe we haven't figured out what we need to figure out yet. Sometimes we just get so set on our ways, and like sometimes CG has to come in and be like, hey, we see a lot of people. I think they did that with like Negotiator first. We say like they were like, hey guys, we see a lot of people not using Plo Koon as a reinforcement. And I mean, I was always using it, but I guess people out there maybe just didn't have them unlocked or whatever. So yeah, this guy sent me the Mace Windu fleet, with basically Leviathan. GR handles it pretty easily. I just decided to call in on Sith Empire Trooper, man. That freaking ship is so annoying. I really just wanted to get it out of there. It can actually just be such a long and tedious kill. If you've got 40 or 50 stacks on it, it's just insane. It's like it feels unkillable, even though it's like a B1 thing where like every single hit takes out like 2 of them. But yeah, anyways, guys, like I said, that's pretty much going to cover the fights, the fight aspect of it. Let me know what your guys' favorite one was. Like I said, this season's very interesting. I know there's a lot of people that I feel like that get down on Datacrons, and I'm not necessarily one that defends Datacrons at all. Like, I think most people that have kind of been around me know my stance on them. I think I would have been fine in the game without them, though I am starting to see, I guess, the somewhat angle, I guess, that like they are providing. They are changing up defenses quite drastically every few months, or at least changing up your strategy on how you attack certain teams, right? Do you leap this person first? Do you kill that person first? Do you might be a different just kind of thought process, and that's all fun, honestly. Like, from a PvP perspective, I think that's like the fun side of the game. But anyways, guys, like I said, let me know what you guys' thoughts are. We end up winning this one. I don't even think he tried a full clear. I think once he saw my back wall, he just stopped. Which is pretty interesting, honestly. That usually happens in 3s, but not so much in 5s. But yeah, like I said, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys in the next one.